Good afternoon. I welcome all the participants for this webinar session being hosted by IRITM. And today's topic is environmental social governance for Indian Railways. And this session will be of 2 hours. So including this question answer session also at the end of it. Today's domain expert is Shri Qazi Miraz Ahmad sir. He is ADG RDSO Lucknow presently, and before RDSO, he was Senior Professor Civil Engineering, IRITM Lucknow, and he has vast experience of 34 years of holding various positions, as well as has worked in various capacities in Indian Railways, has contributed to Indian Railways. Sir is 1991 batch IRSE, and he is graduated from IIT Roorkee, and then he has done MTech from IIT Delhi. Sir has vast experience in project conceptualization as well as planning, execution, and management of the various projects. He has worked as ADRM Operations and Infra in Northern Railway, Lucknow. He was Chief Engineer Track Modernization in Northern Railway. He also worked as CWM Bridge Workshop, Northern Railway, Lucknow. He has also worked as Chief Engineer Construction, and he has also worked in core also. So he has a vast and very rich experience, and he is having various fellowship as well as the member of the different prestigious societies. To name a few, he is Fellow of Institution of Civil Engineers. Then he is Independent Director in Ministry of Corporate Affairs. He is member of American Society of Civil Engineering, then Project Management Professional. So these are very few to name, sir, and you have more to your persona as well as to your experience. And coming to the today's topic of webinar, which is environmental social governance for Indian Railways. Now, as we all are aware, Indian Railways is aggressively adopting this environmental social governance frameworks to become the world's largest green railway. To name a few key strategies, we have gone for 100% electrification, then renewable energy resources like solar, and waste management, then water conservation, then energy efficiency, as well as we have upgraded our various facilities as well as passenger experiences with regard to cleanliness, then passenger facilities, accessibility, more particularly after this implementation of Divyangjan guidelines, and then governance on the transparency, policy, monitoring, and the green certification. So with this background, I will not take much time, and I invite today's domain expert, Shri Kazi Miraz sir, to kindly take over from here and kindly take the session of webinar.
Thank you, Professor Harish, for such a gesture of introducing me to this August gathering of listeners. So today we are going to touch upon a very, very vital topic, and that is environmental social governance. Whether it is with respect to infrastructure development or with respect to the goal of Indian Railways in this vital scenario. But environmental social governance in India, even though our GDP is rising at a level of 7 to 8%, which is unprecedented among the countries at the world level, but still our environmental social governance awareness, if we measure it on an index, we are somewhere lagging behind. So because of that, the unprecedented momentum which is coming because of high GDP growth, because of such a young population of India, because of a very, very growth oriented and our vision towards a Viksit Bharat, we are not able to tap the code words which is emanating from this environmental social governance. So I call upon all the participants to kindly um, understand basics and the rationale behind environmental social governance, so that as a country, as a visionary for Vikasit Bharat, we can take it forward and make it a reality. Okay, so let us have our objective for the session, that by the end of this session, all our participants should be able to explain what ESG is, environmental social governance is, and its relevance to making infrastructural financial decisions. And they should be able to describe themselves, not understand only, but it should be a contribution from self about key environmental social governance issues. And every one of us should be able to describe the application of ESG in infrastructural and even operational developments of Indian Railways. Okay, so let us keep this objective in focus for the session, so that when we come out, we will review whether we have achieved our objectives or not. Okay. Now, as we come to address this topic of why ESG matters now, it is very, very pertinent. It is very, very, I mean, very logical that why should we study ESG? How does it matters to us? For Indian Railways, everything is going on. Okay, I am, let's say, I am senior DOM, I am senior DCM, or maybe I am senior DN, maybe I am chief engineer. So, I mean, why should I worry about ESG at all? So that is why I am bringing this focus firstly on ESG, particularly in relations to Indian Railways infrastructure and operations. That since we are a signatory for the Paris Agreement of 2016, and we have a vision for zero net mobility, carbon mobility. So ESG, why does it matter? That had to be answered first before we proceed further. So, as every one of us would definitely, concur with me, that it is required with respect to strategic alignment, that there is an India's national climate pathway, and we have got a low carbon mobility growth. So it is very, very critical. Addressing the issues of ESG is very, very critical. We have this road transport that doesn't have that much of carbon goals. So it is strategically required that if we shift the freight from road to rail, then only we can have our national logistic costs within our realm. So basically, ESG is required for strategic alignment of these national goals. Then there has to be operational resilience, that as we go ahead with the massive electrification, it reduces our dependence on fossil fuel, that is diesel, petrol, I mean, such fuels. And then for climate resilient infrastructure planning, that ensures continuity against extreme weather and minimizes the network disruption. So for operational resilience also, this is very, very essential. We have got a lot of stakeholders for Indian Railways, be it the passengers vis-a-vis their vision for safety standards, for station cleanliness, or operational transparency. We have to have the trust of the stakeholders, and for establishing that trust, we need to have the ESG in right perspectives. Then, India is on a threshold of development. A wonderful budget has been, unleashed a few days back. But here, strong ESG metrics. I mean, how ESG is being implemented in India, that is very, very essential, because a lot of funds related to green bonds and sustainability financing, which is there, that needs to be tapped. If we tap those available green finances, then we can lower the cost of capital for modernizing project, which, I mean, my personal view is we are blissfully unaware. So if we act our, if we align our acts in that direction, then we are on a threshold for utilization of a lot of green finance, which is available across India as well as in, I mean, from the other countries as well. Then it is also social license, that inclusive, there has to be inclusive growth. It has to be safe for all the components. There has to be accessible services. Then that raises the passengers, satisfaction. So if any community grievances are there, that needs to be addressed, and we have to have a massive network to implement these. So the current momentum is in our favor. Around 90% electric traction is already achieved against having 100% traction goals. And then net zero carbon, that is also within realism. And then scaling indigenous 9000 locomotive technology, that is hydrogen trains, which are going to be going to run in Jind Rohtak section of Northern Railway. That is also going to be a very, very significant achievement as far as Indian Railways is concerned with respect to ESG implementation. So let us try to look at what are the environmental aspects which like decarbonization or resource stewardship, which gets addressed through ESG. So the first is that there has to be a net zero pathway, that net carbon emission to be made zero. The scope 1 was targeted in 2025. That is via nearly complete electrification, and then verified carbon offsets. So around 95% the electric traction is likely to be achieved by 2029-30, and that is going to minimize our fuel reliance. Then renewable integration, that whatever renewable energy is there, that is whether respect to solar, whether respect to wind capacity, then as we go about discussing the various type of power purchase agreements, so round the clock RTC type of power purchase, that will be beneficial for the Indian Railways, that we had to secure. And then 2 gigawatt nuclear allocation, all these are our renewable and integration for implementation of ESG in Indian Railways, that is going to be there. Then circularity and green assets. What circularity means, that some raw material which is there, which is used for operationalization, then the residue which is there after utilization of that material, that is again that goes as an input for further operations. So there has to be a circularity in the operations. So these bio-toilets and IGBC rated green station, there is going to be projected demand of 10 gigawatt of power by 2030. So strategy mix is planned. 3 gigawatt is going to be is being planned from the renewables, 3 gigawatt from thermal and nuclear energy, and 4 gigawatt from Discom normal supply. So that our ESG has to be aligned along our future power needs. And then energy efficiency levers is that these hydrogen trains, 9,000 horsepower locomotives, and then by adoption of this regenerative brake technology, anti-idling system, then AI-driven timetable opportunities, they are there to enforce the energy efficiency. And then it's the finalization, and financial impact is going to be really very significant. And decarbonization directly improves the bottom line. Diesel traction spending is projected to fall sharply, and because of this, if we reduce our diesel traction, then operational expenditure efficiency is optimized. So these aspects are going to help us in achieving our environmental part of ESG goals. Then let us look at the social part of the ESG goals. That is about safety, about inclusion of the all components of the society, and really upscaling our passenger experience. So safety first architecture, we are coming up with the Kavach that is going to be rolled out with that is definitely in the focus with the strict corridor milestones. Then we need to have the level crossing elimination through fatigue management and advanced track monitoring. So this safety first architecture, and that is really going to give us leverage in social aspect of ESG. Workforce deployment, we focus on continuous skilling, like this webinar. That is a wonderful exercise as far as skilling is concerned, for which Professor Harish needs to be complimented for taking up, and IRITM. And then, of course, the occupational health, safety, promoting diversity and then increasing the women participation in operational and technical role. These things had to be addressed in ESG framework. Then there has to be inclusive growth. All underserved regions, we need to have an affordable mobility there. We need to have accessible design standards for the Divyangjan, a person with disability, and also that whatever infrastructure we have, that has an inclusive growth. Then there has to be enhanced. So and then, of course, how ESG is going to address the issue of governance, so that we provide a framework for accountability and reform. So basically, it is the financial transparency that we need to have the accrual based of accounting system. That implementation is linked to outcome linked budgeting, and then public financial dashboards at zone divisional level. So there is a need for financial transparency. So ESG is going to provide us a medium to achieve our goals for financial transparency. Then, of course, by KPIs and service level agreements for punctuality, cleanliness, and station operations with the clearly defined incentives and penalties for underperformance, we need to look through the performance management. The structural reforms between infrastructural management and train operations, alongside strengthening the mandate for independent rail regulator. Those structural reforms also needs to be provided for providing a sense of governance in ESG. There has to be safety governance, procurement integrity, and data and disclosure, so that there is a framework for accountability and reform. So as we can understand that ESG is a very, very relevant topic with respect to performance, operations, infrastructure development, and all-round integration of Indian Railways as a logistic partner for the growth of India, and for aligning it along in the growth of the world level economy as well. As we were discussing the relevance of the ESG, anybody remember this photograph? Anybody may speak. Just anybody does remember this photograph, which has, I think, featured on the front page of on the front cover of India Today. No? Okay, no issues. This is pertaining to Bhopal gas tragedy. In 1984, a leak from Union Carbide's pesticide plant released methyl isocyanate, and that killed thousands of persons immediately and causing long-term health and environmental damage. So this was basically an ESG failure. How? Environmental, there were very hazardous material management being lack of safety protocols were there. How many of you have watched the television serial Railway Men? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there you can appreciate that how there were various failures with environmental, social, disregard for and community safety. I mean, methyl isocyanide pesticide plant was there among the dense area of Bhopal, which was itself a very strong violation of protocol for safety. Then there were weak oversights, under-reporting, inadequate corporate accountability, and those who were responsible, they can get away with very minor, penalties. Now, this, how many of us remember this photograph? Okay, no issues. This is with respect to a deep water horizon oil spill, which has occurred in 2010, where in Gulf of Mexico, because of the explosion on the deep water horizon drilling rig, a large marine oil spilled, and that devastated the marine ecosystem and coastal economy altogether. There were massive pollution. There were lapses in the safety standards, cost cutting, and failure to manage risk were found. There was severe health, livelihood, and economic impact. Then, how many of us remember this Volkswagen? Okay. In 2015, Germany, a particularly governance and environmental failure was, noticed, where the Volkswagen company was caught installing defeat devices so that they can cheat the emission tests. So that led to global recall and reputational damage to the company. So, what was the failure? There was systematic deception by implanting one defeat device, which tried to cheat the emission test, and there was lack of ethics. There was leadership misconduct, and environmental failure was there that car emitted far more pollutant than that was legally allowed, and social failure is that the consumer trust get betrayed, and there were negative health impact because of the increased emissions. So these are few of the cases which I have mentioned vis-a-vis social, vis-a-vis environmental and governmental failure as far as ESG is concerned. Now let us look at the history and evolution of environmental social governance. That in 1980s, this ESG was particularly about environment, health, and safety. Based on that development, there were regulations for the employees. But in 1990s, as we can definitely, correlate, and even many of us still understand that sustainable ESG means sustainability. But in 1990s, the focus was definitely sustainability, how the environmental impact beyond legal requirement is required for sustenance of this ecosystem. But in 2000 to 2010, it graduated to corporate social responsibility, where the corporate philanthropy and employee volunteerism used to align the social resources. But after that, in 2020s, it has graduated to a full-fledged model for environmental social governance, where a holistic, this is a environmental social governance is a holistic concept. This ESG is a cusp of environment, social, and governance topics. Environment criteria addresses to the company's operation environmental impact and how much state that company is providing vis-a-vis the environment is concerned. The governance factors refers to the company's leadership's internal values for the stakeholder. So it is basically a cusp of the environmental aspects, the governance aspects, and the social aspects taken together. And ESG is at the center of at the intersection of all these three, which encompasses all. Now, uh, ESG has to be brought into the mainstream, because what is mainstream? Mainstream, in simple capitalist economy, is profit. But the concept of environmental trust, social values, governance factors, they had to be brought into the mainstream. So there are three key factors. First is materiality, and that is ESG's influence on investors' risk and returns. Materiality का मतलब कोई बता पाएगा? Okay. I think, I mean, if somebody, if we keep on interacting a bit, that is going to keep us aligned also. So I won't mind if somebody unmute themselves and speak when. Okay. Okay. Mudda means ki, if somebody has invested the money, what is materiality for that person? That his money should be protected and there has to be sufficient of return on it. So investors' risk and returns, that is the basic materiality. Then there has to be transparency. There has to be greater transparency in how clients' money is invested, and there has to be regulation जो इंटरनेशनल एंड नेशनल थ्रस्ट को एड्रेस करते हैं. ESG is basically a framework wherein the materiality, transparency, and regulation is addressed, and after addressing this led to all out growth. So why ESG as a term is relevant in the fundamental business issues? Because it has a corporate reputation at its core. There is likely to be more of the risk reduction, and there is opportunity management, and then culture and intrinsic value. They drive the workforce for being more inclusive.
So does it have any the legal framework which bind all these things?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be coming to that. I'll be coming
Sir.
to that. Yes, correct.
Sir.
A nice interjection. So basically, diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) that is at the core of this social aspect of its ESG. DEI, as many of us would be keeping tab, that this is DEI was first to be axed as a ministry when a new regime take charge at USA under the Trump 2.0 regime. So basically what happened was that diversity, equity, and inclusion, the value of which has been nurtured over decades, that was tried to be blemished in one single stroke. The very first day, DEI department was axed in USA as a department, and all the employees were sent on leave with 50% of their salary. So does it mean that the days of ESG is over? Yeah, was over. My take is, of course, no. The diversity, equity, and inclusion is too big a concept to be really nurtured, and it cannot be done away by a single regime change at some powerful country level. So basically, these are the values which we have to imbibe at our day-to-day level, as well as in our dealing at national or international level. And it is bound to come back. So the EI is, as a matter of principle, is something to be cherished, and that has to be lived on. And that had come after a lot of a struggle and after a lot of steering by the several of the past leaders. So as far as DEI is concerned, a more diverse board or the more diverse workforce they can have a more informed decisions, and that can further support the acquisition of new customers and markets. So basically, by addressing DEI, we can address our governance issues more emphatically. As so far as social issues are concerned, I mean, DEI is addressed through hiring practices, community engagement efforts, procurement strategies, and so basically, in our action, DEI has to be at the core of the efforts. Then, with this environmental issues, social issues, governance issues, all have a material wide spectrum. All have I mean, all those have a impact on various spectrum of industries. So environmental issues, if we start discussing first some of the slides which we have seen at the start, so it pertains to the climate change, it pertains to the natural resources scarcity, it pertains to pollution and waste. So let us regarding the social factors, we have got community engagement and responsible sourcing, that the whatever are the resources which are used, they should have you know an environmental upstream and downstream connectivity for a more sustainable and green growth. So we need to have a responsible sourcing besides the community engagements. So human capital management, product safety, and human rights, labor management, all these if had to be managed properly to keep the risk for the social factors of ESG under control. And then governance factor, that supply chain management and within all the aspects of ESG, and board quality, diversity of the board, effectiveness of the board vis-a-vis the qualifications, accountability measures, integration of ESG factors into business planning. So these are the factors which addressed by the enterprises, they lead to tap diverse market, and that can only come through a group thinking of the company. Now, in governance factor, as Professor Harish was saying, and that what would be the framework? The first thing is that ESG, there are certain parameters, and they are laid down detailed parameters. So by that auto declaration, company has to, I mean, those declarations are devised so that the person who is the organization which is reporting the entire commitment towards the environmental, social, governance aspects get covered, and that get reflected, that as a matter of policy, how ESG is inbuilt into the functioning of that particular organization. So ESG reporting standards that firstly create the a ranking, which because of its comprehensiveness, because of its accuracy of actually getting to know how ESG is being implemented in that organization or in that company with its consistency. So ESG reporting standards that instill the investors' confidence and consumer and stakeholder trust in that particular. So first, reporting through transparency and business ethics, that is the foundation for governance factor of ESG. So let us see that there are few leading and most credible disclosure framework, like SASB, Sustainable Accounting Standard Boards, or other three, Global Reporting Initiatives, or TCFD, Task Force for Carbon Related Financial Disclosure. These are basically the framework. These framework, they have got a lot of disclosure pro formas, starting from the details of the company to how environmental aspects are being implemented, how social aspects are being addressed, what are the governance factor which is the fundamental to that particular business. So they are these SASB or TCFD or GRI, these are the disclosure framework. So firstly, we choose one of the disclosure framework and then accordingly make disclosures. So once those disclosures are made, those disclosures lead to further, analysis by the experts. And after analysis by the experts, they rate that particular company with respect to various objectives. Then the role of investor comes. That role of investor, they will look into the rating of those company by the rating companies, and then accordingly money starts flowing into that particular organization for the given job. So this we are going to understand that by reporting, after reporting, then reports are analyzed by the analysts. Then based on the analysts, they give ranking to the various organizations. Then based on those rankings, that is further seen by the investors, and then the investors start investing vis-a-vis their priorities for those companies which are listed. So this is how the economy in at the world level is getting shaped. Factors, they pertains to enterprise risk management and then corporate strategy. So that leads to long-term value creation. So stakeholder, who are the stakeholders? Anybody who is affected by or can affect the business. So that is the stakeholder. Now, what is stakeholders capitalism? That whosoever are the stakeholders, we are creating value for all the stakeholders, not just shareholders. So by stakeholder value creation and stakeholder capitalism, the capital allocation is done. So that is why those stakeholders are important and very vital for the sustenance of any system. And the internal shareholders or stakeholders are owners, employees. Then external shareholders are customers, suppliers, investors, creditors, media, community, trade union, government, and then company is at the core of it. So all these stakeholders, internal as well as external, they need to be managed for crisis response and business continuity planning. So that we look into their welfare, and once the corporate profitability along with the stakeholder welfare comes, then ESG makes a very good business sense. So you can understand that it, I mean, only if we look into owner's profit or their concerns, it is not going to work. ESG is not going to work. ESG has to have all the stakeholders within their ambit, and their welfare as well as profitability needs to be addressed for coming to the crux. Now, by employee engagement, the ESG maturity comes. Like we can see that millennials, millennial kids, they are responsible for influencing societal norms around key ESG issues. So they are, I mean, like if you must have noticed that young kids, when you go along with them on a car, and if you lower your glass panels and try to throw some waste outside, they are the first to stop. No, this is wrong. This you can't do. You can't throw the garbage on the roads. So these are the Gen Z people. Now they are dictating, the market and the choices. So basically, we have to, as more and more we are giving emphasis to the millennials, and then from millennials to Gen Z, the issues of ESG is coming at the core. I've seen it since childhood. So basically, the CSR, that is social responsibility, company social responsibility, which was being followed. A key criticism was that we were throwing money at problems while continuing to create them. Like, teaching someone or making some extra classes or distributing something. So basically, the approach of ESG is that we want to have a holistic solution, whereas we address the basics of why some imbalances in the society is being created, and the development has to be in tandem with the environmental issues, in tandem with the social issues, in tandem with the ethics, governance, transparency, and then only the holistic and long-lasting development. So, as regarding materiality, there are issues: diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, climate change, emission, corporate philosophy, philanthropy, deforestation. If we plot it on importance to stakeholders and importance to business, they occupy different spectrum. So we can leverage these tools for measuring the efficacy or maturity of the company. So regarding reporting and valuation, as we were discussing, the analyst first was reporting on the basis of this reporting on the basis of this disclosure. After that disclosure, analyst they analyzes the various aspects of the disclosures which were made, and then they ESG disclosures and reports are produced, and then ESG information is also placed on the web page. Then material issues which are relevant to the industry, that is demonstrated here in the disclosures and the reports, and such information is displayed on the web page. Now, based on the disclosure, rating and ranking agencies like MSCI, Dust, Dow Jones Sustainability Indices, they rate those companies based on their disclosures, and then after ranking, the money starts flowing in that particular based on their rankings. So this is the overall framework by which there's a complete system by which the economy in the world, and that is getting directed. So we have to get alive to this axis of money flow, so as to understand, and so that we can see that we are also among the leagues of nation which are called developed sooner rather than later. So, as far as reporting, transparency, and valuation is concerned, the company's ways of communicating ESG is management through its various decisions of the management, through strategizing, through the progress which is shown year by year and the outcomes. So, how external stakeholders they perceive environmental social governance is that how mature is the policy of environmental social governance application in that particular organization, what is the corporate culture which is supporting it, and then ability to create long-term value. So once the disclosures are made, the analyst they provide significant value through their ability to identify the thematic consistency, that whether the company which is making some disclosures or declarations, there's a consistency in approach vis-a-vis environment, vis-a-vis social, vis-a-vis environmental aspects, government aspects, and there is a flow. There is a how the company is showing up in rating indexes and ESG reports. Okay, so if we deploy the ESG, then there are competitive advantages, and that competitive advantages is first is reduced risk, the risk which we can foresee and which we can address. So those risks are mitigated if in the disclosure itself if we try to answer the questions honestly, and analysts, they also analyzes the consistency in it, and if that is implemented in the right spirit, then there is a mitigated risk. The risk get reduced, and then there is increased opportunity and growth by supporting identification of new market, new customers, new products and services. There is again organizational resiliency, that in case of any risk, in case, the organization anticipates, the organization adapts to the technological changes which is coming, to the changes in customer which is going to there, the regulatory changes if it is there, then those organizational resiliency is also addressed. With for workforce productivity, if the ESG issues are addressed, so basically it increases the retention. Otherwise, when we see that many of there's a friction, a lot of employees friction is there, and that they leave the organization as soon as they join. So for increasing retention and attracting the best talents also leads to the workforce productivity by effective implementation of ESG. And there is a reputation and stakeholder trust, which really comes into the offing. So if strong ESG measures are adopted instead of weak ESG measures, it leads to reduced risk, greater opportunities and growth. There's greater organizational resiliency. Workforce productivity is also better. That monetary loss due to employees turnover and lower productivity, losing an essential talents, these things are avoided. Reputation of stakeholder trust, that is there, so we can have better B2B and B2C customers and better community relation. If we don't have a strong ESG, then we lose out on all these counters. So the initiative and their impact is that these initiatives have led to investors asking for more content and disclosures, and then corporations to further develop the following. Basically, what happens is that when wants to some, big investments are going to come, they basically analyzes the policy of that particular organization. So once the investors, they have got their professionals, and once they are investigating into how those initiatives are taking shape, then they will ask for more content, they will ask for more disclosures from that company. And so what is the corporate purpose? सिर्फ जो है किसी कंपनी का पर्पस पैसा कमाना ही तो नहीं है. Whether it is decision making, long term resilience, that is inbuilt into the corporate purpose or not. Immediate and fast money should, whether it is not the only purpose for that corporation. Then scenario planning, then in case of any catastrophic climatic catastrophe, if there is a detailed disclosures that we identify the risk, and we have got a risk mitigation or amelioration strategy in place, then we can have better response to climatic catastrophe. So that scenario planning for the adverse conditions, whether it is inbuilt into the policy of that particular corporation or not. Then translating risk into opportunities. Many risks which come our way, that leads that paves the way for opportunity to launch new ventures and addresses the challenge through profitable market-based solutions. So ESG basically has the following guiding principles: that there has to be a strategic planning aligned in the direction of ESG, responsive, resilient, and flexible service provisions. I mean, it has to be very agile, static, and rigid type of services is a big no-no in the given situations. Then there has to be comprehensive life cycle assessment of sustainability, right from the inception to its operations and through its disposal, and then further use of those waste into as a input for further cycling. So there has to be comprehensive life cycle assessment for the sustainability. Then avoiding environmental impact, what how the environment is, what is the impact going, various activities or various actions of that organization going to have on the environment, and understanding that, and then addressing that. Resource efficiency, circularity, enhanced economic benefit, fiscal sustainability, and innovative financing. These are all guiding principles for our formulation of the strategies for ESG. Transparent, inclusive, and participatory decision making. Evidence-based decision making. It should not be uh, it should not be only off the knee jerk decisions. It should be based on evidence that whether the issues which are being addressed, and there are evidences to supplement the decisions which are being taken. So basically, we have to follow these guiding principles so far as these implementation is concerned. Now, ESG versus socially responsible investing and impact investing versus green bonds. Let us discuss these type of sustainable investing. Socially responsible investing, potential investors are screened according to specific ethic guidelines. जैसे शुरू में था socially responsible, that if somebody, they will give a guideline that if you are investing in gambling or maybe tobacco or something, that we will not permit. So these were the type of investments which were called SRI, socially responsible investment. Further, the new type of investments that has developed, that is impact investment. That key objective is that there has to be a positive social and environmental outcomes. Not only the shareholder returns, but there has to be overall the goals of ESG that should be aligned with how much impact it is going to create. Then green bonds, a bond designed to support projects on climate change and environmental stewardship. So green bonds are the funds which are there for sustainable investing. And then ESG, of course, this is a measure of greater risk and reward management. That in case you follow the disclosures, then analysis, then rating, and then so there is a lot of risk and reward management that is inbuilt into it, and that is very, very logical and very, very methodical. Now let us look into some of the green finances and their performances, like green bonds. To finance or refinance in part or in whole, new or existing qualifying green project that it adhere to the basic components of green bond principles. Globally, you can see that globally cumulative issuance has exceeded $3.5 trillion by late 2025. And 5 years comprehensive GR gross receipt is 46.9%. So that is phenomenal. In India also, it is India itself has emerged as the fourth largest emerging market for sustainable debt, and 55.9 billion in cumulative issuance up to December 2024 has been reported. Some of green bonds, Azure, Power Finance, they have come up into the market. Social bonds also globally, it is likely to reach 900 billions. Sustainability linked loans have also from 2017 4.8 billion to now it is 1 trillion, over 1 trillion. And sustainability bond globally is of also $6 trillion. So basically a huge fund that is flowing, and India is just because of less of awareness on ESG, we are just tapping very, very small part of it. But it has a huge potential. And earlier we start, the more of leadership we are going to take in this field, whether it relates to Indian railways, or whether it relates to logistic planning, or being part of the growth of India. In India, the ESG funds have done very well. That like Quant ESG equity bond has returned 20.99%. Similarly, SBI, EICI, Invesco have also given a very good returns in the uh, preceding periods. But as you can see, that domestic and private green finance constitute the major part of the funds, 56%. Domestic public, 29%. International private, only 5% is being diverted towards India. And international public, 10% only. So that is basically 15% just. So this 85%, this opens up a lot of opportunities for Indian market open up. And whether it is related to investment in Indian Railways Finance Corporation, or basically, financing the various railway related projects, there are a lot of opportunity waiting with open hands. So when we design the infrastructure cycle, what happens is that in the upstream, there's a flow. In the upstream, there is a strategic planning, there's prioritization, project planning, then concept design, then procurement, detailed design, finance, construction, operation and maintenance, and then decommissioning and repurposing. So this is our life cycle. So we have to enable environment as an overall domain. So this upstream and downstream, all the industries have to be aligned along these directions. So this we have seen that the benefits of sustainable infrastructure will be economic development, job creation, better minimum impact on environment, resilient infrastructure, enhances quality of life of citizen, promotes social inclusion, improves cost efficiency of the project, financial sustainability. All these things are very, very vital. If we make development on the infrastructure, or even in the development of operations, and if we just underplay any of these things, any of these topics, that is not going to be sustainable. So these aspects are very, very essential for a sustainable infrastructure or even operations development. So environmental sustainable projects, as we see, are green buildings, sustainable water and waste managements, including recycling, effective disposal, energy conversions, production of energy from renewable source like solar, wind, biogas, etc. Clean transportation that involve lower greenhouse gas emissions, climate change adaptation, sustainable land use, including sustainable forestry and agriculture, and then biodiversity conservation. So all this, like Professor Harish has also spoken at the start, that basically we have been focusing on such environmental sustainable project in the past, and there is a need for greater emphasis on it. Now, investing trend in as far as ESG is concerned and their fund performance is that there's a climate change strategy. So that requires greater action disclosure and investment in managing the risk of climate change. That climate change is very, very real. From the pre-industrial era, that is 1798. If we measure the average temperature, it has already risen beyond 1.5 degree to around 2 degree. That is a reality. The glaciers are melting. The level of the ocean is rising. So a lot of, because of this climate change in our infrastructure as well as in our operations, like you might have noticed a couple of years back in London, there was, the summers were so heavy that the signals which were there in green and yellow, they got melted and they got warped. You can testify that the quality of asphalted road, because of the very heavy temperatures, they are not behaving as they were required. So addressing and ESG issues are at the core even for the business itself, not because of any other after effects. So there is an increased attention to social and governance, and then transparency and disclosure, how, what, when, and where of ESG, that increases the transparency and disclosure. We don't have to be wary of if the questions are asked, how what that has happened, what are we going to do, when are we going to do, where are we going to do it, why are we doing it. So these are of ESG. If they are addressed in the context of ESG efforts, that transparency and disclosure is really going to improve the scenario. Then long-term ownership mindset. Investors are moving from quarterly stock prices to long-term value creation. Okay. So now we come to business responsibility and sustainability reporting, and that is so there are 9 principles of national guidelines on responsible business conduct. So these nine national guidelines on responsible business conduct, these 9 principles are very, very fundamental for business responsibility and sustainability reporting. That we have to conduct and govern ourselves with integrity and in a manner that is ethical, transparent, and accountable. We have to provide goods and services in a manner that is sustainable and safe. Respect and promote the well-being of all employees, including those in the value chain. Not only our employees, but also in the upstream and in the downstream, whosoever are our associates, there also we have to respect and promote the well-being of all the employees. Respect and trust of and being responsive to all the stakeholders. Respect and promote human rights. Respect and make efforts to protect and restore the environment. When engaging in influence public and regulatory policy, do so in a manner that is responsible and transparent. And then promoting inclusive growth and equitable development, and engage with and providing value to our customers in a responsible manner. So these are the 9 principles of national guidelines on responsible business conduct. So they are not just some words, but they have to be lived so as they can be imbibed in our policies, even in our disclosures, even in our ratings, and consequent the flow of the funds. So when we report for business responsibility and sustainability reporting, like disclosures, what are the key disclosures which are required to start? Now we are going, in detail at the first stage of disclosures itself. So, first part is an overview of the company's ESG risk assessment, the approach adopted, and steps taken to mitigate the same. What are the financial implications involved in doing so? So that overview is firstly addressed. Then the goals, which is set by the company for maintaining sustainability and performance in these respects. What are the goals? Firstly, overview of the company's ESG risk assessment, and then goals. What are the goals? Then environmental related disclosures such as greenhouse gas emissions, total waste generation, disposal, and efforts toward the protection of biodiversity. What are the measures which we are taking that disclosures have to be made? Then social disclosures covering areas such as gender and social diversity among the employees. What is the median wages? How much the top person getting as a wage, or how much the bottom person is getting the wage? What is the median? So there has to be, that also needs to be addressed. Then disclosures on social impact assessment, rehabilitation, fulfillment of corporate social responsibility. These key disclosures are sought in BRSR disclosures. Now, let us look at sustainable infrastructure development in India. Sustainable infrastructure system is planned, designed, built, operated, and decommissioned. That requires economic and social, financial, environmental, and institutional sustainability. And this is across the whole infrastructure life cycle. This is critical to lowering the country's carbon footprint and fostering a more environmentally friendly energy mix. So this is the sustainable infrastructure system which is there. So what Indian government is doing with respect to providing this sustainable infrastructure is that roads and railroads account for more than half overall capital expenditure. Investment in road and highways increased cumulative annual growth rate of over 40% over the previous decade. And then railway capex has risen from 37% CAGR up from 15% about 10 years back. So there is a phenomenal capex rise, and then capital expenditure on energy, ports, civil aviation, telecommunication, that has also increased significantly over the years. Let us also review what Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Government of India has made initiatives in this field. Earlier in 2020, some 29 labor laws were codified on the Code of Social Security, Code Industrial Relations Code, and Code on Wages, and Occupational Safety, Health, and Working Conditions Code. So in 2020, some these 29 labor laws were codified. Now, there was a system for pricing the greenhouse gas emissions through trading of carbon credit certificate, that different industries and different products were labeled based on how much greenhouse gas emission they are doing, and that can be traded by carbon credits. So Indian carbon market was proposed to be implemented in a phased manner. In 2023, Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 was DPDP Act was brought to set out a comprehensive framework for processing and protection of digital personal and data. So Ministry of Government Corporate Affairs has made these efforts in recent past. Now they wanted to have more control. I mean, the system of ESG from the disclosure, analysis, rating, and then eventual money flowing. I mean, it was not getting understood directly by many of our investors, many of our companies. So ESG regulatory regime was sought to be implemented by the government. So they brought in, earlier there used to be this Environmental Protection Act, Factories Act, Money Laundering Act. There were archaic type of acts which were there. They were replaced by SEBI, that is Listing Obligation and Disclosure Requirement Directives. They were brought, and from year 2022 to 23, it was directed that there should be a report on ESG parameters which were set by BRSR, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting Framework. From the top 1,000 company top 1,000 companies should be asked to submit a report on ESG parameters in 2022-23. In 23-24, it was laid that some top 150 of these entities will have to undertake reasonable assurance of BRSR core. That business responsibility and sustainability reporting, there was BRSR core and there was BRSR light. So BRSR core, top 150 companies will have to make reasonable assurance that they will undertake the measures for ESG implementation. So in 2022-23, 1,000 companies were asked to report on ESG parameters. In 2023-24, 150 of these entities additionally to undertake reasonable assurance. Then 2024-25 onwards, disclosure as per BRSR core in the annual report are also required for value chain partners of top 150 listed companies on a comply or explain basis. At 2024-25, what happens that value chain partner upstream या downstream में भी हैं, top 250 listed companies के लिए it was made mandatory that their disclosures is also included along with the top 250 companies enlisted, so that we have a clear cut, um, um, clear cut paradigm in which even all the value chain partners of the upstream and downstream are also aligned. Now, in December 2024, relief was granted in the above provisions where the disclosures were made voluntary. Earlier, it was comply or explain. So it was very, very restrictive. So the industry start crying. They took it that it is very, very strict and stringent. So from 2024, in 2025, it was made voluntary, and this was deferred by a year applicable from 2025-26, and then assessment and assurance is required from next year, that is 2026-27, that is to be done. So slowly and slowly, government is taking strict measures so that everybody start falling in line and complying to those directives. But it is upon us to enlighten others that we could foresee a more comprehensive growth, not only in our organization, in our upstream and downstream organizations, as well as a logistic partner and as a front runner for the national development. So Indian Railway Finance Corporation, which is actively participating on the behalf of Indian Railways. So for them to perform and for them to show that all our 69 divisions, all our 17 or 19 zones, 10 all our 10 these PUs, production units, all they are working in tandem and aligned in the direction of ESG. This framework for implementation of ESG policy is a must, so that as a unit, Indian Railways can also stand, for achieving the targets of the Viksit Bharat. So first is the climate change strategy. The focus areas are green energy and emissions. There is focus on green energy, energy efficiency initiative, e-waste, and all those things. So in the divisions, generally operating part, admin or ID are departments in the division. They must address to these climate change strategy. Environmental and social risk management, biodiversity loss because of operations or even because of the infrastructure, labor union and management, that is also looked after by concerned directorate of the division. Then procurement practice, there has to be environmentally sensitive products and governance. So right there we have to address and make specifications by the procurement divisions so that ESG get imbibed into our complete value chain. In creating empowered workforce, non-discrimination and fair treatment career. So progression in employee benefit, employee health and well-being, employee ethics and code of conduct, women's safety, training, development, grievance redressal, which is part of the HR. They, if addressed properly, they create an empowered workforce, and which is based on non-discrimination, and there has to be fair treatment for all. So this is very, very essential social part of the ESG scenario. Enhancing customer experiences, the passenger and freight use charter, if that is declared and implemented, then we can have a enhanced customer satisfaction and enhanced customer experience. Okay, then community and society. Education for pure children, these are CSR objectives. So instead of just taking it up as a pick and choose for some of the pockets, if comprehensively adopted, this may also pave way for greater ESG thrust. Now, transparency and accountability to stakeholders. Suo motu disclosure of necessary information that adds to the transparency, that adds to the stakeholders accountability. So, all the head of the institutions, investors, human resources, and admin and commercial, all they have to address this transparency issue, accountability issue, so that by so motor disclosures for addressing these transparency accountability. Then corporate governance, that environmental social governance on KPIs will be the focus area, and all the heads, if we focus only on KPIs with corporate governance, then we are on the right track. Are we getting it?
Yes, sir. Sir, this IRFC has devised this divisional framework for ESG implementation in railways.
This is my understanding. Just recommendations.
Okay, sir. So
IRFC.
this is some parts like, sir, these eight these heads are there. So some are already implemented, but others are they are already implemented, or these are in the planning stage, sir?
What my objective is that educating, enlightening all of us,
Yes,
so
yes,
that
yes.
we can, whatever role we are looking, whatever role we are in,
Okay.
with these things, we should be focusing on these areas, because ultimately Indian Railway Finance Corporation, which has to go into the market on our behalf, will have a more face to argue on our behalf.
Okay.
And we should, whatever measures we are taking, if we document it, if we communicate it to upwards, so that it is also reflected in the efforts being made by us individually or collectively or as an organization, that
Yes,
is
sir.
taken care of.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is what I have just prepared.
Okay,
That
sir.
if we whatever work, small way we are doing, if we address these issues, then slowly that can become a movement. So
Yes.
this is, we should be able to, I'm confident that we should be able to explain what ESG is, environmental, social governance, what is its relevance in making financial decisions, and what are the key environmental, social governance issues, and what is its application in infrastructural development. I hope that we are able to justify with the investment of time of last 1.5 hours or so. So with this, I came to this last slide, and really caring for green earth, caring for the nature. I really am grateful that all of us were so patient in understanding and listening to it.
For me also, sir, this means very relevant and very many new terms I also get to know today, sir. Means academically also it was very enlightening, and I got to know the new terms related to ESG, and it's very, you rightly said, sir, if we start doing this and means in our domain, then it can become a movement, and the objective of the Indian Railway as well as the government of India, then it can be achieved. I am grateful to Shri Kaji Biraj Ahmed sir for sparing his valuable time and giving us insight to a very relevant and new means topic of environmental social governance. And we have come to know about many new things in this process. And we will try that we try to implement whatever these learnings are there at our work field also, and we will try to disseminate this knowledge to our peers and other friends also. And you have we are grateful to you, sir, that you agreed to spare your time for giving this webinar. And we will try to share it in other forums also, sir, so that the other participant who could not join, they also get benefited from this. And I wish all the participants, they will certainly take away some knowledge and enlightening to their work fields from this. And I also thank all the participants for doing the registration and participating in this webinar. And this training institute also, they have organized some combined class for this, sir, also. I also want to thank them. And for the IRITM team also, they organized this and planned this. And I want to thank the support staff also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And thank you very much. Please, this is just not the end. This is just the beginning of a new, very enriching chapter in all of our life. And let us steer it forward. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Harish,
Sir, thank you
Editor,
very
and
much.
everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.